This millionaire wanted to know if his girlfriend really loved him. He would soon discover the truth. A millionaire concocted a plan to check if his girlfriend was really in love with him or his money, but he was outsmarted. In this world, there are people who genuinely are going to love you for you, not being with you just because you have a good salary. If you have money and suspect your partner might be with you for just that, how do you know if they really love you or not? The story you'll see in this video has been making the rounds through Eastern Europe in the last few months. It took place in the Czech Republic, more specifically in Prague. This is the sad story of a man named Benjamin. We'll let him tell us more. I'm an heir to a well-known restaurant chain. Since I was a kid, I've always had a lot of money and everything that comes with it. But because my father passed away, I've had to take over control of everything. My mother wasn't really with us for a long time. I realized she was with my father for the money since I was a child, and when she saw that he'd fallen ill, she saw a chance. She divorced him and took half of everything. Now she's remarried another man, not even caring about me despite being her only son. My father was still alive for a long time, but still really ill and a workaholic as always. Believe me, it's really tough not being able to have someone by your side. In high school, I met a very beautiful girl and it was love at first sight. Her name was Katrina. She came to Prague from another country as her parents came looking for better job opportunities. We became quick friends and eventually fell in love. And you might be wondering, what was the son of a millionaire doing in a public school instead of a private one? Let me remind you that my parents never really spent time on me. My dad was obsessed with his job and my mother didn't care, so the only person really looking out for me was a nanny. She was my teacher and put me in the same school as her granddaughter. After high school, Katrina came up to me with a huge request of paying for her college studies. She told me her parents had gone back to Moldova to take care of her sick grandmother, so she was basically alone, insisting on staying there, working and studying. She promised to return the money as soon as possible, and I immediately told her, of course, no problem. We looked for the best university she wanted. It was expensive, but I insisted on her going through with it. I was happy because I'd finally fulfill my dream of professionally pursuing my career. I obviously chose a career in business administration. I wanted my father to see my support and he'd be happy because soon he'd have a right hand and I could assume some responsibilities, and maybe he'd finally be proud of me. Everything became more complicated when his disease became much worse, and he suddenly lost the battle over the course of just a few months. For a long time, I suffered heavily from his loss. I had to move on though because I not only had to finish uni, but I also had to take care of and resolve my father's affairs. Luckily, when there were times that I was down or things I didn't know how to do, Katrina was always there to support me. After finishing my degree, Katrina wanted to return the money I gave her to pay for her studies. I told her it was no longer important and that she'd helped me a lot in my work and life. Then she told me she wanted to pursue a master's degree in Spain, but didn't have the resources. She'd already admitted that the money she wanted to return would be used for the trip, registration, and to eat for a few months, but it wouldn't be enough for the student visa and savings account. I convinced her I would help her and be her guarantor. Later, a friend at work told me, "Be careful. I bet she's with you for the money." I didn't say anything in response, and when I got home, it made me remember my mom. I didn't think Katrina was like her. She was completely different, and I was happy to give her my money. I helped her get the visa, and I called her to find out what it was like. I couldn't go see her for a while with work, so I paid for her to come here. As soon as she came here, she asked for more money, telling me she'd give it back to me as soon as possible, and I believed her. One day, I got a call from my mother. I didn't know how she knew, but she told me to be careful of that woman, to not be naive. I told her to get out of my life and never contact me again, and it was the pot calling the kettle black. But it bothered me. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about it. I'd come up with a plan to see if Katrina was interested in me or my money. The only way to find out? Pretend I lost everything. I waited it out. 2 years later, as she was finally coming back from Spain, I confessed that I'd lost everything. There was a really long silence in return, followed by her saying, "Don't worry, I'll be there soon and we'll find a way." Afterwards, she stopped answering her phone. I thought she just must have been busy. As more and more calls were ignored, I thought it might have been true. Because she thought I no longer had money, she didn't want anything to do with me. But I knew she wasn't like that. The day she was supposed to come back, I went to the airport, eagerly looking for a plane landing. I was eager to see her, waiting for minutes, then hours and more. I didn't see her and called her, but didn't get anything. Days passed and I never heard back. She didn't log into social media, didn't reply to my messages. She just disappeared. I left for Spain. I went to her alma mater university she just left, and they told me that Katrina had graduated with honors. Then through one of her friends, I learned that she'd gone back to Moldova to be with her parents, which surprised me. I wanted to meet her and tell her the truth and find out what was going on. After landing in Moldova, I took a taxi from the airport to her small town near the capital. I just wanted to know what happened. When I showed up at her house, I stood by a window and knocked, shouting, "It's me, Katrina! Open the door, it's me!" She was crying. I didn't understand, but then she opened the door and came out. "I know you were testing me. I can't be with someone who would do something like that to me. I'm not going to tell you who told me, but I can't let you treat me like this. I've been with you for so many years and you don't even know me. Please leave. I have infinite gratitude for everything you've done. I'll always remember that, and I'm here to support you, but don't ask me to come back." On hearing this, my heart shattered with grief, guilt, and regret. To this day, I still think about it. I have mountains of money, countless staff, expensive cars, and luxurious houses, but I'm not happy. A few years back, I discovered Katrina had married a humble man, and now they're expecting a son. Now I understand my father. Money couldn't bring him happiness, and now it's the same for me. This is my story. I hope it serves as an example for you so you don't end up like me.